need Ukrainian translation? If you do, we have a translator who will sit next to you and whisper in your ear. Okay, no one needs it. Welcome back to the next artist talk of UkraineVision 2025. On the stage is writer, translator, screenplay writer Жанна Słoniowska, and the moderator is Yuliya Yurchuk. So please welcome our next artistic talk.
Hello everyone, I'm very happy to see many of you now here, and I'm very happy to present Жанна Słoniowska. I will give a short presentation of Жанна, and then we will go directly to the discussion of literature and books. So Жанна Słoniowska was born in Lviv, and she debuted with the novel The House with the Stained Glass Window. This is this book, and I have it even in English, so you can see it. But the book was written originally in Polish, and the same year when it came, it was translated into Ukrainian, and now I think it's translated into 15 languages.
Thank you, but it's only 10 languages.
10, okay. But 10, 15, you know.
Hopefully.
The 11th will be Swedish.
Yeah. And let's try to do it.
Yeah. And this book got a Conrad Award and was nominated for the Nike Award. The novel, yes, indeed, was translated in 10 languages. Has been recognized internationally and included in shortlist nomination by the University of Warwick. Жанна writes children's books and theatrical plays and participates in literary festivals and translates Polish literature into Ukrainian. And Жанna also teaches at the Polish-Ukrainian department at Jagiellonian University in Krakow. Do you want to add something what I missed?
That now I live in Africa, but maybe it's not so important.
But this is very intriguing. Maybe later you can tell us why you live in Africa.
Just
and
to complicate everything, just to complicate.
No, but Жанна is really a person who is crossing the borders. And this book is really about crossing borders in all possible senses, I would say. We can speak about it. Maybe it's only my reading, but I think that I'm right. So, yeah. First, I think that we will mainly speak about this book, but Жанна has also a very good novel which was published not recently but 2 years ago, Ostrov, the island.
It was 2019.
Yeah, 2019. Oh, time flies,
yes.
But it feels like it was recently. But we will mainly speak about this book, and if we have time, we can speak about the island, because these books are so different, and I am, as a reader, very intrigued how it can come from one person, actually. But maybe we will start with this book, which got a lot of awards, as you understood, and which is a really good book. Жанна, do you want that I tell what is there, or you can just tell us shortly what this book is about?
You do.
I will do very, very short introduction. So this book is actually about a family and about females in this family. For me, it was this very women's history of one family. So we have actually 4 generations who live in Lviv in one apartment. And everything starts in the 80s, the end of 80s. It was 1988, when the mother of the main character, who is actually a narrator also, was killed in the protests, and this murder was intended to be against Chernobyl, right?
Not against, but Chernobyl was a target.
Was a target, yes,
Yeah.
but she was accidentally, but not accidentally, but also accidentally near Chernobyl, and she got killed. And then this daughter tells this history of the family and history of the country, and also a story of her own life. And everything ends in 2014. When the revolution of dignity actually starts. So it was already the end of maybe 20. 2013.
Let's say that it ends on Maidan.
On Maidan, yeah. But what I actually, and here I will stop. I won't give more details about the novel, but what is important to stress here that we start in the 80s in Lviv and we end in Kyiv in 2013. And as I understood, you started writing this novel before all this protest on Maidan, so you probably yourself didn't know how the book will end. Am I right?
So it's really a very strange situation, because now this book reads completely differently compared to the times when I was writing it. Because for me, I started writing it about 2010, and it was my pure fantasy. I mean, the first scene is the dead body wrapped in a blue-yellow flag. That was my fantasy, because that was about the protest, anti-communistic protest in Lviv, my home city, which there was no bloodshed at all. So this dead body wrapped in a blue-yellow flag, I don't know why it came to my mind. And now, actually, I don't want to be a prophet, but now it reads like something very real, which I don't like. So that was my fantasy, just to shoot someone during the protest in 1888. Because as a child, I was witnessing those anti-communistic protests. I used to live in the city center of Lviv, and people were gathering. They wanted to have Ukrainian language. They wanted to have independent Ukraine, and they were just manifestations. And as a child, I was very much afraid of them. So that was my starting point. My early memories of those protests.
But actually, when you read this novel now and you read how it begins, I myself saw all these images from Maidan with the bodies and flags, and I was sure that this was the images you had when writing the novel. But now I understand.
No, it was much earlier. Yeah, and there's a kind of this mystical aspect of this book, because when I was finishing it, the shooting on Maidan started, and that's how actually my publisher asked me to add this last chapter about Maidan, and I'm still hesitating. I'm not very sure does it suit this last chapter, because it was I was writing it when it was happening, which is not good for the writer. But only this last chapter.
But I think it suits perfectly because it is a dialogue with time. Like you start with the protest and then you also end with the protest. And I was sure that it was meant from the very beginning like this.
No.
But I knew that you started before the protests on Maidan. That is why I was wondering how you kind of started and ended, because I thought that maybe you rewrote the start actually.
No. So the book was almost ready, and then it was 2014, and my publisher asked me to add this very, very last chapter.
So in a way, the book became as a prophecy.
Yes, and I feel strange about it. Yeah, that was not my plan. Yeah.
Even you know what was striking for me, because when you were telling the story of the mother who was killed and how she switched the language. in the end of 80s or during the 80s, and how strange it was for her daughter and for the whole family that she was the only one who switched the language at that point.
Yes.
And it was not a mainstream then.
Not at all,
or
yeah.
Not at all. Can you tell me more?
Yes, it's so look, now it's a commonplace, and this is a very strange feeling. I mean, switching languages, yeah, in Ukraine. But I remember from the right after the collapse of Soviet Union, there were some people who were switching the languages. They were coming. We have them among us now, and so people were coming back to their roots. Both now I'm in Lviv, both Polish and Ukrainian. And for me, I remember as a teenager, it was a very strange experience. Say, you heard someone speaking Russian all of her life, and then suddenly this person switched this language without any, say, introduction or explanation. And this is a very strange feeling in a way that this person suddenly becomes someone else. And that was my aim to depict this. That's why I made this mother in my book. I just to show the situation that she's switching the languages, and this daughter, she feels strange. It's not my mother anymore. You know, this kind of feeling. But because she switches from Russian into Ukrainian for the political reasons, right? But the daughter, she doesn't care about politics. She only has this strange feeling that my mother is not my mother anymore. And the next step, she's killed. She's killed. She used to be an artist who chose to be more an activist than an artist. And that's, again, the big dilemma. Is it possible to be an artist and an activist at the same time? It's also a very big topic of this book.
She was an opera singer.
Yes.
And this question of the voice is very central in your book, I would say, especially for the daughter, because she says that she feels her mother as a voice. And this is the mother talking through her. So this question of the voice was very interesting for me as a reader.
I think that I use this image of the voice as a metaphor for personality in general.
And I wanted to ask about this opera, opera thing stuff. Why did you choose? Because she could be a painter, she could be any artist, but why opera singer? And then she was, I don't want to spoil anything, but she was downshifted also when she got this dressing room, which was in the cellar, basically.
So there are both, there are two waves here. First, she's downshifted because now she's an activist, because she runs the manifestations. And for the opera singer, it's not a good thing to do, because she sings the folk songs on the streets. Not those, she almost doesn't sing for, those opera arias for the elite. But the second image, why it was important, she goes into the cellar, which means that because the next there will be this chapter about journey into the sewers of Lviv. Because we in Lviv, as some of you probably know, have the hidden river. So everyone knows that there is a river, but nobody saw it. And it is very important for the artistic imagination, this image, to have this river, but just not to have access to it. And in my book, Marianna, this main character, one of the main characters, she goes there to see this river, underground river, and she meets Solomia Krushelnytska, who is also a very crucial person for Lviv's history.
But this is the book about also Lviv history, and not only Lviv history, it's about Ukrainian history in a nutshell. When you come to one place and you see this whole history through one family. And you have a chapter also on Ukrainian-Polish war, for instance. And also you have a chapter on how this family got to Lviv. Actually. So can you maybe tell us more about the history of the family, these 4 generations of women, and then Lviv history through this family?
So back then, when I was writing it, I was quite obsessed with not with the Ukrainian history, but with the Lviv history, because suddenly, in the 90s, after the collapse of Soviet Union, we were having an access to the unknown pages of the Lviv's history. And here I mean Jewish history, Polish-Ukrainian history, Polish-Ukrainian war you mentioned, and Ukrainian insurgent army, many interesting things. I don't know, Armenian also.
Yeah, and exactly, and you are unpacking all these layers in your novel.
Yeah, that's and I was really obsessed with it. I was reading everything which was possible to read.
You can see it in the book.
Yes, I was obsessed also with the local identity, because I was personally asking myself, who am I with this, mixed roots? And I was actually, by that time, it was very easy and relaxed way to answer that I'm from Lviv, and there is an episode about this strong local identity more people have in my home city. Now the situation is not so comforting, because now when there is a war, it's not possible to concentrate on the local identity, I guess.
So you think that it contradicts, or it's kind of too small now?
Now I think that every decent person I don't have, but I think that it's time. Unfortunately, war makes it black and white, and you not have, but it's more natural to identify yourself with this. National identity. Yeah, I think so. But hopefully, this borderlands identity will be back.
But your family, the family in the book, they are 4 generations, and they hardly speak to each other. And they live in a peaceful time, so to say. So they also have troubles with identity, or troubles with connecting to each other, or connect all these parts of history which come from different generations. Can you tell more about these women and how disconnected they are?
So first, I wanted to illustrate, to show this problem of one common apartment, which was very, common for the Soviet times, when people were forced to live together, and even the adults, the children who were becoming adults, it was no possibility to become independent. So it's love-hate relationship, and people are not. They would like to be separate, but there is no. It is not possible. So they love and hate each other. They stay together, and sometimes the best way is not to talk to each other, because it's unbearable. Yes, this closeness and proximity. Yes, so this is one thing. And but besides, I think it is very interesting to. To show these choices of the national identities by that time. It was not. So one grandmother, she's Polish. The great grandmother, she is. I think that she's so heavily traumatized that she tries not to think about her identity. She's a survivor. She tries to survive, and then there is Marianna, who all of a sudden chooses to be Ukrainian, but she is not ethnically Ukrainian. this is her choice. And again, now it's so obvious and it's such a commonplace. But when I was writing it, I was thinking that I'm telling about some niche, niche situation that nobody knows about. Yeah.
Yes, that it was such unique situation, but then it appeared to be not that unique. And actually, in the book, there is even this dialogue when the daughter asks her mother why you don't speak, and she said, "But you don't know what apartment question means in the Soviet Union." So it was really the huge question how to live together, and this love-hate relationship, they really are very present there. But I want to come back to maybe not to the story itself, but to its reception, because as you said, it's about family with different backgrounds, and you wrote it in the book in Polish. So I guess that the reception in Poland and Ukraine differed or not? I'm just wondering how other readers read it, because this is a book about Polish history as well. So how it is read in Poland and how it is read in Ukraine?
So actually, when I started writing, I was asking myself about the language. And then I decided to write it in Polish because it was written in a dialogue with the Polish society, which means that when I moved to Poland more than 20 years ago, so in Poland, people, as you know, Lwów used to belong to Poland for 600 years. So people in Poland tend to ask me very strange questions like, do I remember the pre-war Lviv? Pre-war means World War II, yeah? Because I came from Lwów, and in some of them were remembering only this Polish Lwów. And you know, I don't remember. And so I was quite annoyed with this question, as if Lviv existed only till 1944, till the second Soviet occupation, and then it ceased to exist. So I wrote it out of this feeling that I want to show that there is still something, you know, in this after 1944. So it was a kind of dialogue with the Polish society, but I was not thinking that this book could have been translated into, say, Western languages. My aim was to publish it in Poland and see what happened. And
what happened?
So they liked it, they awarded it, and I became the only one author who writes in Polish from outside Poland. And for the Poles, they like what I do with the language, with the Polish language. I don't know what do I do, but I do something different. I approach it from a different angle. And I think the answer is that I didn't attend a Polish school, and school is the place where we all are shaped in a special way by our national countries, and also our what do we think about language? It comes from the school, and I was doing something different with the Polish language, you know.
So it sounds differently.
I don't know.
But they feel.
We have some Poles here, and they can say, but. Yeah.
So they can feel that there is a difference, that it is written by a person who was not born here, or who was not educated in our system, and can see us differently.
Or maybe it's a question of the rhythm, and I don't know.
I cannot say, because I read it in Ukrainian and English, not in Polish. So.
And then, so then the first translation came. It was a Ukrainian translation. It was made by brilliant Marianna Kijanowska, the poet, who was very attentive about the rhythm. And I came I came to my home city, to Lviv, to the festival, to the literary festival, and all of a sudden I saw that people think that the book has been written in Ukrainian. So they, in a way, they ignore this Polish
But this is true.
aspect.
This is true.
And I was quite amazed. And then I decided, okay, I will take this as well, this identity. I could be a Ukrainian writer, why not?
But how do you identify yourself? Are you
No.
Ukrainian writer who writes in Polish, or are you Polish writer who writes about Lviv?
I don't answer this tricky question. No.
You are, I think that you are still answering this question for yourself.
I'm not.
I think.
No.
No? Okay. But so there were differences in kind of how you are perceived in Poland and in Ukraine.
But imagine, look, Yuliya, imagine Paris. Yeah, I'm in Paris, and we were speaking French and English, and then someone, after the long talk, someone asked, and your book, when it will come out in Polish? And I was like, what? So it's all complicated.
That's so interesting. And now we are sitting in Stockholm and speaking about this again questions. But I understood that it's a different reception. And coming back to the story itself, what would you say that your main characters, all of them, would do now?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I think this older generation, you know, when the full-scale invasion broke out, there were many heart attacks in Ukraine, and the old people, the elderly people, they could not accept the fact that Russia attacked Ukraine.
And
it was easier to die, you know.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about great-grandmother and grandmother, these two elderly women.
That's what I think. Is it possible to survive, you know, such a fact? I don't know.
Just to understand that they kind of lived in the total delusion,
but also for those people who were, you know, Russian speakers and who were attached to this Russian culture and to this having the Soviet identity. Yeah. So I don't know.
Would you write this book now? Would it be possible to kind of have this dialogue with time, like from 80s to the war in 2022? Or it was more the time of before the Revolution of Dignity, which brought you to this book?
Yes, absolutely. This peaceful time before all kinds of bloodshed and revolutions and war, that was a time when I could write this book. No, not now.
Not now. But what is also interesting that the Orange Revolution, it's not very prominent in the book. I would say that it's like very, not very much not there. So what would you say about this time? How did you see it?
So look, it's not a chronicle of all of the revolution.
I understand.
And also Revolution na granicy is not.
Yeah, I know.
It is not present here, but I think somehow it was more it was more like a carnival. Orange
and it
Revolution.
Was more about Lviv, and I think that is why.
And also, it's more about Kyiv.
Yeah. And the book. I mean, the book is about Lviv, and the story of Orange Revolution and the Revolution on Granite is Kyiv. Kyiv story.
Yeah, I think this book is a very Lvivian book. It's based there.
No, you feel you feel that you are in Lviv when you read it, and even how you describe all the buildings and even this window, you know, this is also very Lvivian.
But so it exists in reality. The stained glass window I'm telling you about.
I believe you.
Yeah.
So now I want to be in Lviv when you are there, and you will show me.
I can share the address.
Yeah. Okay. You don't want to meet me.
I want to meet you, but I must say that very often, not very often, but quite regularly, I receive the messages from my readers from different languages who ask me about the address of the stained glass window. Because they want to. Now with the war, maybe not so frequently, but before it was quite regular. Can you please share the address? Because in the book, this unique stained glass window, it was ruined, and in reality,
it exists still.
In reality, it has been restored, and it looks gorgeous.
Oh. I didn't know this.
Yes, when the book was published, someone wrote to me from Lviv that now we start the restoration of the stained glass window. Yeah, I was so sad that it was in decline, so I decided just to kill it in my book, not to be so sad. But reality is better, and it's a rare case, I think.
But actually, you also show now how the book it was not only prophecy, but it also triggered some actions in reality, like this restoration of the window.
I don't know if maybe it's a pure coincidence.
You think that it's a
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's coincidence, but who believes in coincidences?
Exactly. Especially in literature. But good. I think that what also I wanted to ask about the book, this book, and then we can maybe come to the island more. But do you see it as historical fiction?
I don't know. I don't know about this genre. My aim was to write a novel, and I was not sure if I will succeed. So the novel, which would be interesting for myself as well, you know.
But you also researched a lot.
Yes.
For the book.
Yes. As I said previously, I was so obsessed by the time with this Lvivian history. And I had this oral history project I was sharing the other day, and so my head was stuffed with those facts.
Because actually, one can even think about these guided tours on your, based on your book. Have you heard about some of?
Yes, there was an idea to add the map. And I was very much keen on this idea to add the map to this book, but my publisher didn't agree. And
I was not the only one who had this feeling that there should.
Yeah, I know that there are people who are going and see Lviv with this book. Yeah, and I'm very happy. Yes, and actually also, you know, so Yaroslav Hrycak, who is the well-known Ukrainian historian, once he told that in Lviv. The city guides, the city tours tell the different versions of history depending on which language is this tour guide. For example, you know, you can just have totally Polish or totally Ukrainian and Jewish and as well. So my idea was to try to put all of them in one book. Not to choose only one nationality.
Yeah, and you succeeded. It's I think a very good result. You had this idea and you really succeeded in realizing it. Do you want maybe to read something from the book before we come to another book? What would you say?
Maybe a short.
You can choose anything.
To me, the word mama is not an image, but a sound. It starts in the stomach, moves through the lungs and the larynx to the windpipe, and sticks in the throat. You are devoid of musical talent, she often said to me, and so I never sing. Yet, the voice that is born deep inside me is her voice, a mezzo-soprano. In fact, when I was inside her, I thought that voice belonged to me. But once I was born, I found it was hers alone. This musical separation of ours lasted 12 years until the day she died. For a long time after, there was nothing, no sound, no color, just a hole right through by the shoulder blade. And when I finally grew up, I realized that now it was she who was inside me. Now she can't see anything. She is just a voice again, a beautiful mezzo-soprano, while I stand in vain before the mirror, opening my mouth and trying to bring it out of me.
Yeah, this is beautiful. Thank you. Now it's hard time to come to something totally different because actually your newest island novel, it's quite different. It's more about inner world of a writer, and it's more kind of sometimes I even read it as a kind of a meditation, you know, very personal story. And was it a deliberate choice? You wanted to write something totally different, or it's only readers who perceive it like this?
Yes, I wanted to write something totally different, but actually my publisher and my translator didn't like it because it is, as you said, it is different and it is very chamber novel. It's a novel about the relationship and a very special one. And my publisher and some of my translators were expecting me to keep on writing about Ukraine and about identity. So for the marketing, you know, it would be much better just to write some more books on Ukrainian history.
Lviv.
On Lviv, yes. But as an artist, I'm very happy that I was able to write something totally different.
But I thought that for you as an author, it was a challenge to kind of try a different genre, try a different topic, and try a different style. So in a way, you, for yourself, I think, proved that you are good at different genres, and it was kind of...
No, I do think it's the same genre because it's a novel again.
But still, it's so different. You know, there is no this historical stuff, and I think in this novel, history itself helped you a lot to kind of create the frame of the novel. But in the island, you don't have this historical frame, which helps in the same way.
Yes, but for me, that was very interesting to write it without any history. I was actually, you know, when I finished my first novel, I was not obsessed with the Lvivian history anymore.
Yeah,
so I freed myself, and I was free to, you know, to do new things. So yes, it was good, but then it was strange to receive this direct message. Say from, I don't know, from people in Britain or France, that I'm supposed to write about Ukraine for the whole of my life, you know. And this, this is a very interesting phenomenon because they think that they are authors to write about love and relationship and friendship. They are own authors. And we, from those strange countries, we have to write about our struggles and our identity. You know, this is a very interesting case.
But in a way, David has a struggle, and also, but also what is for me interesting to see his thoughts about literature. So what is real literature, what is not? So in a way, this is maybe something what you are writing to your publishers who expected something from you.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
And speaking about these genres and different forms of literature, do you see now that there are some genres which are not that available because of the war?
this I can't say, but I think it differs also from country to country, from literature to literature. That some novels are some novels can be read in some countries, and some novels are just they don't exist in some countries for whatever reason. And it is very strange, but you have to go deep into this literature and this mentality to understand why.
What would you see is the difference between this Polish literature and Ukrainian literature? What is in Ukrainian, which is not in Poland, and what is in Poland, which is not existing in Ukraine?
So what struck me in Poland is that Polish literature is very good in terms of the non-fiction literature. I think it's almost the best in the world, and those names are really well known, and they deserve it. Non-fictional writers, and still it's the next generations of great. This is just a great tradition and a school of these non-fictional writers. Yeah, and it is not. This genre of literary fiction, of the good novels, they are not so. I don't want to say they are not popular, but maybe there is no. In Ukraine, there is a tradition to discuss them just in a private situation, and I don't think that there is such a tradition in Poland.
No,
not, or at least less. I think that in Poland it's about historical books very much, about these non-fictional books, which this is a real fire that people have.
But not fiction.
But fiction not as much as, this is not this way of, I don't know, as with my second novel, now and then I have the Ukrainian readers who, they write me that this is a very important book for them, because this and that, and no, not really Polish readers.
No.
So, yeah.
But in a way, your main character there in the island has this kind of debate with these non-fiction writers.
Yes,
and
this is my debate.
And exactly, this is your debate. So that he wants to prove that.
Yeah. I was quite annoyed.
Is more important than non-fiction. And I have my own place in literature, in literary history, because I write fiction.
Yeah. But I was not educated by Polish school, so I can.
You can allow
differently. Yeah.
For yourself. But it was interesting what you said, that you got. Reactions from Ukrainian readers on this novel that they really appreciated.
Now only about the second novel.
Yeah. The second
first novel, I have it all over, really.
Yeah. I understood this part, but the second, why? What do they appreciate in this book?
I don't know. So different things. But it looks like that this inner world of this main character, yes, is somehow important, and the landscapes are important, and the female protagonist is very important. Many people are intrigued why she behaves like this or like that. Why are they asking me the questions about her, and I have no answers.
Okay, but speaking about these differences in Poland and Ukraine, do you see some kind of changes in Poland in literary field because of Ukrainian war? Because we spoke about a lot of changes in Ukraine, of course, but since Poland is our neighbor, and since so many refugees came to Poland since 2022, do you see some kind of reflection in literary field, how it changes, how it reacts, what is happening there?
Yes, I think that, again, many books of non-fiction, Ukrainian non-fictions, they have been translated, and they are quite popular because of this war.
So translations
Translations, yes.
And what would you say about the Polish writers? Do they reflect? Yeah.
No, I think that but I think that prose really takes time, writing in prose. So all of us, we still need time to reflect. on this war.
Maybe a last question in this direction about the refugees. Books or their stories. Do you see something like published or something visible in the literary field, cultural debates? Because I think that there are some Ukrainian writers who came to Poland to find refuge there.
I think that poetry is this quick response for now. That's I can say for sure. They were scholarships, and many Ukrainian writers and poets stayed in Poland from the first days of invasion, and so it was mostly poetry. And I don't think that. I think we still need time.
Thank you. I really want to have time for questions.
I came as a
Irina.
bearer of good news. We right now have time for questions.
Good. So, yeah, please.
Okay, I see the first hand and then I come to you.
I was laughing here on the back when you were asking if Jana considers herself a Lviv writer or not, because we actually met and I was digging in our chat from back 2016, including her as one of Lviv writers for this book Victoria brought yesterday to sign, Lviv, City of Inspiration, Literature. And your book was the first which brought us an idea to create a literary map. Do you know? Now you do. And I wanted just to read the quote from the book we included about Lviv. I would describe city as my body, where streets are veins, and each Lviv city you can read by layers. Each layer is a separate story. Sometimes book can't let me go. Today it just brought me to Austria-Hungarian Lviv, tomorrow in Lviv of 90s. Why in Poland, from all the possible topics I started to write about Lviv? Because emigration gave you the opportunity to evaluate some things which earlier seemed to be just natural. And for example, Krakow gave me the power to describe what I lived out back in 80s. In times of my childhood. And those symbols of Lviv, Krushelnitska, Chernobyl and others, they are symbols which started to talk to me only when I left. And I think this is somehow also response about how this internal distance is built in a fiction and after some events already passed. And my question, based on those memories, almost 10 years ago, can't believe, is, do you think that you will refer to ongoing events in Ukraine, or your focus is already on this perspective from another continent, from Nairobi or others?
So I tend to be totally free. And what is happening now, I'm sitting in my home in Nairobi, and I do write about Lviv of 80s. I mean the previous century, yeah. About the Soviet Lviv and before the collapse of Soviet Union. So in a way the same period, but not the same.
Oh, wow, wonderful.
Yeah, and Nairobi is everywhere, yeah.
Wonderful.
We have second question.
Ďakujeme široko for this lecture. My first question is, since my wife is Polish, she would like to buy a book from you directly signed. Do you have some in Polish here, this book? No?
No, Polish Institute, what do you...
Oh,
What,
maybe.
do you have some books?
With you?
No.
No, we'll find.
No, but I think Amazon is helpful.
And another question is, you mentioned that your book is translated into 10 languages. Is Russian among those languages?
Yes, I do have Russian translation, but so it was the magazine Иностранная литература,
Yes.
and there is a translation which was not perfect, and as now they want to adjust it and publish it as a separate book.
Very good. And have you
Yeah, but that was the strangest review I had after this. I mean, the Russian review. It was really very funny when it came out in Russian. So my father used to laugh very much because in Radio Svoboda there was only one review, and in this review was not a single word about Ukraine, blue, yellow flag, like nothing. No historical events, and that was this very, they chose to say about this 4 generations of women and art and something, but this historical background was absent. I think it's so typical. It's so typical. Yeah.
Well, we hope that we'll see much better reviews, and all the people in Russian Federation outside who have some roots or connections, as my ancestors do, will read your books because it's the only track to understand each other. So I'm very thankful that you studied it and it's continuing. And I do understand when you're talking about heartbreaks. Really. So I hope new generation will meet in not heartbreaks, but understanding and enriching each other. Дякую.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have more questions for Zhanna? Great. Then thank you so much for this artistic talk. Thank you, Zhanna. Thank you, Yuliya. Thank you all for attending. And we have a short break now, and see you soon for next artistic talk.
Мало, так? Ні, ну все вийшло, правда?